Okay, before the class were dismissed, we already read one of the reports that's been released before the Olympic Games. Now this is another article released after the Olympic Games. So that's the actual result. And it reads, the title says, no Zika cases reported during Rio Olympics, WHO says. So, fortunately, there's no Zika viruses, no confirmed cases during the Olympic Games. So, the article is released by the New York Times, also a very authoritative news agency. It's dated September, 2016, and this is the source, it's New York Times. Okay, so moving on, scientific background of Zika is including the news article. It says scientists have known about Zika since the 1940s, so it has a long history. But its explosive spread in Latin America began only recently. So this thing already existed in 1940s, but it's only recently in Latin America it became its explosive outbreak. It's only recently. I think it must have to do with global warming. That's just my guess. Or it could not, maybe it's not. Okay? Symptoms, of course, the condition will be, symptoms in adults are mild, which is not very obvious. But the virus can cause severe birth defects. So if you're adults, if you are contracted with this disease, this virus, it's okay, it's not so serious. But if you pass it on to the unborn, to the infants, then it will create serious, severe birth defects. Defect 就是畸形, in pregnant women. So it is being tracked closely. Okay, so divided opinions said, okay, the WHO said in May, so that's referring to sometime much earlier that year, that the Olympics would not significantly affect the spread of the Zika virus and that canceling again did not make sense. But we read a lot of information released by WHO, but this article refers back to what WHO released in May, which is a lot earlier. And they quote from this and said that having canceled the game would not make sense. But of course, in other reports, we already know that later on, WHO warned pregnant women should not go to these places and so on and so forth, right? So it's how they use the material and the time they use the material that you should pay attention to. So basically, they are all from the WHO, which is the authoritative ground. 所以你们看得到，所有东西都是从 WHO 释放出来的消息，但是它可以释放出5月的时候，好像 cancel 这个 game 是很 ridiculous， 但是6月的时候他又说 pregnant woman 不可以去，很严重，对不对？等等，所以看他怎么用这些东西。但是这篇报道他用的是5月的，更早之前，他觉得 according to WHO, canceling the game would be ridiculous. Okay, next one. Its assessment came after a group of health experts called for the game to be cancelled, arguing that holding the game would only exacerbate what can become a global epidemic. 就是流行性的传染。好，所以他根据 WHO 认为说 Olympic Games 应该要进行，那根据其他 experts 应该要被取消，是这个样子。So opinion divided. There are a division of opinions, even after the game. Next, the epidemic. Why it's an epidemic? 为什么 virus 不是 Zika is an epidemic? Because Zika has moved from Brazil to Colombia, which is a fact. 它已经 traveled from Brazil to Colombia, also in South America. And it's now spreading fast in the Caribbean, 加勒比海. So it's spreading, it's actually spreading. We already see the map, so we know. Particularly in Puerto Rico, where there are more than 14,000 infections. So earlier on, we have two statistics in Brazil. There are 15,000, 1,500, and then 3,000, right, infected babies. But now here, more than 14,000 when it spreads elsewhere, and including in nearly 1,000 pregnant women. So in the continental United States, small clusters have occurred in South Florida, which is very recent. This is very recent. South Florida there are already cases indicating this virus already traveled there in the United States. They're very soil. Also in Asia as well, okay? So next one. No Zika cases found at the Olympics. But if we go back to the Olympic Games again, to the Brazil again, no Zika infections were reported in Brazil during the Olympic, either among the athletes or visitors, according to the World Health Organization said. This is current, that was after the Olympic. After the Olympic, the WHO confirms with convincing data that there is actually no contraction of the Zika virus in Brazil. Okay, and then Brazil presenting data that experts said had convinced them that no infection had occurred either during the game or after. So Brazil themselves present enough data to confirm, to convince WHO and to prove that there is no transmission of Zika viruses during the Olympic Games in Brazil at that time, which is August or September. September. So these are the evidences. Many people have been tested and there have been no confirmed cases. So no confirmed cases presented by Brazil, said this person, doctor, the executive director of Outbreak and Health Emergency at the agency, and said that Brazil have been on high alert with enhanced and active surveillance. Because we already know, because it's very controversial, so by the time they decided to continue with the Olympic Games, of course they are on high alert prior to the actual games. So perhaps that's also the reason why it could be controlled. 因为他们在早之前他们就知道这件事情了，而且所有人都已经在关注这件事情了，所以他们的所有的那个 surveillance， 所有的心力都早就放在这里了。所以我是觉得这可能是一个 very probable reason why it did not have any cases, confirmed cases. Okay, next. But what about now? What about Zika now? Okay, experts said the world should still be on high alert, so still it should be on high alert， 就是还是必须要被关注的，而且是非常高严重性的哈。They said the disease was probably becoming epidemic in a number of countries. At that time, they were still guessing because this is released in September, and they were guessing it will spread to other countries. And this still does not remain an emergency of international concern. This still does remain an emergency in international concern, so they are not canceling out the gravity of the seriousness. This extraordinary events rapidly become, unfortunately, an ordinary event. So it will become something quite common if we are still not taking serious measures to battle against it. So this is another report. What I would like you to do is after there's 3 articles. One is the handout I've given you, so that's happened in April. And then there are 2 reports, one before Olympics and the other after Olympics. So what I would like you to do again is, like I told you before, to express your opinion based on the same question, but I will open another forum for you. That will be on 9 and 10. Discussion. If you still have the same opinion, then express them and say that I have exactly the same opinion. But based on the other two articles, building on top of what you already know, based on the other two articles that I shared with you, do you have any other thoughts? Please express your opinion again. If you were the authority, would you cancel it or not? Why or why not? And then I'm going to do a survey, and then I'm going to have you debate. Okay, so another 5 minutes to express your opinion on the platform, and then I'm going to give you another 5 or 10 minutes to discuss in a group, and then we are going to have our very last debate, class debate.